actually better for this because you would expect both teams have won here, so one of them really did.
Yeah, both of them kind of got exactly what they wanted all 5 games. But here's the thing, is TDK kind of threw NME for a loop here because TDK in their semis picked red every single game. They wanted to counter pick for Seraph. Now they're looking for strong lanes to win the laning phase.
And right off the bat, you can see first pick Nidalee comes through. No one is ever going to let Inox get that champion in their lives. And it's going to go most likely to Kez, but also could go to Seraph here as high-impact champions for TDK. We see that Kyle's Jace, by the way, if you haven't been watching Challenger, Kyle's Jace, he's probably the biggest one-trick pony. You never let him get that champion either. We talked about Trashy's Gragas. Inox, by the way, the Kog'Maw ban is against Inox. His AP Cog is very good. I mean, there's so much to talk about here, but...
Yeah, you also banned the Morgana, because that's Body Drop's most played. He played that, I believe, 7 games.
7 out of 12?
Of Morgana.
Maybe 8 out of 12
total.
now?
Yeah, he played a lot of Morgana throughout the season. Definitely his most dominant support, so they're giving themselves a little bit of an edge in the bottom lane by banning that out.
All right, well, it looks like NME eSports have plenty of time to choose. TDK, again, the first pick Nidalee does not surprise me. But now NME eSports have to worry about the fact that this Nidalee is a flex pick here. It could go to Seraph up against top lane Hecarim. No surprise that Flares picks this champion. But Otto, right off the bat, going for Sivir with all the other AD carries left up, wants the utility for the bot lane here.
Well, NME also is a very big team fighting team. That's their edge here, is they've been together for a while, and they've grouped up and really learned how to exert that pressure in team fights. TDK is more lane focused and split push with Seraph. NME wants to fight them and show that they have that strength over them.
No, that's true. That's why these guys were surprised TDK didn't pick red, because TDK were so lane focused. And of course we heard Otter talk about that in the video, saying we might not necessarily be better than them individually, but we are better than them as a team. And so a team fight emphasis here for sure. Now Janna comes through, as well as the Lissandra, which is still more flex picks here. I still don't know if that's Seraph playing it.
You don't know a single thing here from TDK.
Well, support Janna.
Yeah, you know that it's support Janna, but you don't know any of the solo lanes. It could be Nidalee to top or jungle, or it could be the Lissandra to top or mid. So there's a whole bunch of question marks here, and NME aren't getting any answers.
Well, they've already blind picked the top laner. They can add their support here. They know. I think Annie's actually very, very good against Janna. Any engaged champion that doesn't engage with their body, I think, is good against Janna here. So already the Annie is locked in. Of course, we have seen mid Annie played before. Huhi from Fusion played it 2 games yesterday. So theoretically a switch available here for Inox if he wants it. And there's the Zac picked up for Trashy. So Annie a flex. 3 champions for sure locked in where we know where they're going.
A lot of engaged potential on NME eSports. They want to get in there and they want to start these fights. They don't want to give Seraph opportunities to split push regardless of what champion he takes. And it is going to be the Shyvana to the top lane most likely here with TP Smite.
All right, so we asked if TP Smite was going to be a thing. Looks like it is. Seraph gets top lane Shyvana. That means it is jungle Nidalee after all, and mid lane Lissandra. And their AD carry pickup is going to be Vayne. And this is interesting because Louis GG had a pretty lackluster season up until the playoffs, and he really showed up in the semifinal over Team Fusion. And Vayne was one of those champions he actually had a great performance on. So relying on him for a lot of the team fight damage output, TDK putting a lot of faith in him.
And like you said, he had a pretty lackluster season, and I recently learned that he was a sub for Jinair. His name was Lawyer, and when he got subbed in his first game, he actually got MVP of that match with a quadra kill on Graves. So he does come from a pedigree where he can compete at an LCS level.
It's true. Once in a while, we'll see if that holds up now for Louis GG. Again, back on the big stage. NME eSports now, they know it's mid lane list. They know the entire lineup, the flex picks there or not. And with the team full of hard to engage, it looks like the champion is going to be Katarina. So NME eSports starting out.
Whole lot of team fight here.
With a whole lot of team fight.
NME eSports, Inox really likes this Katarina in the mid lane. This is going to give them a whole bunch of potential for cleanup after the engage. And this team comp, you can get flares rolling, you can shut down Seraph with Trashy, or you can just camp for Inox in the mid lane. He doesn't have a lot of gank assistance, but you can get the roaming kills.
Yeah. Well, the question is, though, what happens if NME eSports gets behind TDK, relying on their laning phase advantages, and you've got basically no wave clear at all, which can make life difficult if NME get behind. So I got to talk to Trashy briefly before the game started, and I was like, you know, who do you feel is going to win this match? You know, who thinks the favorite? Because you think NME would be coming in, and he's like, I don't know, it'll be close.
Yeah.
If we win game 1 and we get a lead in game 2, then we're probably fine. But that's like a whole lot of if statements before the matches really even start here. So, you know, you get on the big stage, the question is always going to be who really shows up. TDK living up to their name. They've got the dragon in the top lane here with Seraph. And the TP Smite's going to be fun to watch. So 2 Smites better than 1, maybe for objective control. NME eSports hoping they get ahead in the laning phase, even though they're relying on team fights. And if they can transition out, then that 5-on-5 will be very scary.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at here from TDK is they have a lot of pick potential. They have a lot of split push. And here's the thing is the disengage from this team. The Janna is very good against the engage comp, but it's just one champion. You're not going to be able to keep everybody out of jumping in on them.
You can keep Zach out. I don't know if you can keep Annie out. Either way, guys, all throughout this match, we'll be keeping tabs on who you think is going to earn a spot in the North American LCS tonight. Share your predictions with us on Twitter by tweeting hashtag TDKWin or hashtag NMEWin. We'll check your votes on the Rift in just a few minutes. We are, of course, at LOL Esports. And here we go, guys. Game 1 of the best of 5. Who's going to be the next team in the North American LCS? TDK or NME Esports?
Well, we're going to find out the answer today for that, for sure, for one of them. And then the other one goes to promo tournament. So they've both made it extremely far already. You
know, Aiden, we don't know if it's for sure going to be today. If we have 5 hour-and-a-half long games,
oh my God,
we'll find out tomorrow. Do you remember the European promotion tournament?
Yes, I do.
It's like a 7-hour BO5. Seraph and Flares. Both, by the way, can do damage in circles around themselves.
This is a preview of what's going to be happening this game. Flares is a very dominant top laner. You don't get #1 in solo queue without snowballing the top lane and then going to a different lane and exerting that advantage and pressuring that and spilling it over. So he plays Riven a lot. He plays TP, Ignite, Hecarim top all the time just so he can do that.
I'm actually intrigued by Flares and what he's doing right here because he opened up with a Flask and nothing else.
So this is what you do is you open Flask, you go do a camp, and then you back. And then you have all that gold saved up. I believe...
Yeah, he's at 130 right now. A camp's worth about 100 if you count ambient gold, which puts him at 230, which is like a rejuvenation beat or something.
I see Scions all the time start with no items, so they'll die quickly.
Right.
And then they go back and they buy the door and shield. They buy
or things like that, yeah.
But we'll see what he ends up buying here. I do want to talk about Seraph, though. You start with the Ruby Crystal and not anything else because that's going to build into Bomby's Cinder and get you that wave clear and get you that extra like little boost to get towards the Cinder Hulk faster.
You just want to rush the item as soon as possible. And there we go. Seraph is going to start out at the Raptors. He gets a small leash from Kyle. Kez will have to solo his camp, and Otter is going to build a freeze down in the bottom lane. So lane swap coming in here.
It's going to be interesting to see what this does to Kez's jungle route as a Nidalee, because Nidalees are kind of farm heavy. And if you have somebody else farming your jungle with you, later on, it's not as gold intensive, right? You want to have to gank these lanes, but a Nidalee ganking these lanes, there's ways to avoid her. It's kind of hard to gank a Katarina. There is some leeway into a Hecarim, but overall, it might push some pressure on Kez to make some moves.
And we'll see what moves he does make here. Getting ahead in lane would be very nice for TDK. And thinking about scaling overall, though, I mean, we've seen some TP Smite games. What seems to be strong about that is the fact that you have a pretty just big bruiser comp that outscales, oddly enough. TP Smite teams seem to outscale. You're relying on a lot of gold income for the early game to get you through it. And if all you want to do on TDK is farm, which realistically a lot of these champions what they want to do, maybe you don't need to make the early moves after all. TDK looks like they will swap back after realizing that these weren't the lanes everyone wanted here. Otter did the same thing, of course, and they keep swapping back and forth and back and forth.
They want the 2-on-2.
Yeah.
They want the Annie Sivir into the Vayne and the Janna. So it's going to be back and forth swapping here for both teams. And just to retouch on the Hecarim, he went back and bought the cloth armor and potions on top of it.
Okay, he could afford it afterwards because I forgot ambient gold starts like 40 seconds before the camps even die, so yeah, enough money to do that. Trashy going to get spotted out by Kez. 3 on both. Good dodge. The javelin, but still a lot of damage coming through. Hunt is on as well. Kez will not get any further damage. Trashy, though, going to have to recall. A good early invade by Kez to start things off.
And here's the thing is I talked about it'll put some pressure on Kez to make moves, but it also means that he can go hang out in the enemy jungle a lot because he doesn't have anything to farm for himself, right? Shyvana's basically a jungler at this point. Seraph gets to clean up those camps. And even if Seraph pairs up with Kez, Trashy's jungle will be theirs.
It's absolutely true. So we'll see if the 2-on-1 can do much here. Louis GG, unfortunately, did he not have Condemn yet?
Dragon?
He did. He didn't
really Dragon.
All right, TDK with 2 smites. They'll both be up around the right time, and this will be Dragon going to TDK as eventually the lane swap turns out with their dual lane bottom. Hey, it's a good way to start this game out. So, small gold lead for TDK. They're up 200 gold. They're also going to be able to knock down this Dragon pretty cleanly. And Kez waits to smite second. He gets the bonus gold. And off we are with Dragon number 1. Of course, pretty easy to tell when Dragon goes down in this game. And And they will finally put Seraph in the top lane here. Who, after taking down Dragon, will just TP right on in with 300 gold in the bank.
Seraph brought a ward with him too, so he puts it off to the side, making sure that he's not going to get dove by Trashy. Trashy is off on the side of Kez's jungle. He's going to go towards the wolves, but if he gets caught out,
well,
could be pretty
They
rough.
just pinged him, though. Now, Seraph's ward did go in Tribrush, and if NME were paying attention, they would know the ward is Tribrush specifically, and Zach could play around that here. Right now, the mid lane matchup going, by the way, heavily in Kyle's favor.
Kez.
Yep. Okay, that means this dive not likely to work in any case. Trashy goes around the long way, does not get spotted by the ward. And then you can see it's a 2-on-2 up here. There's very little kill threat. You can see Trashy, again, he's behind the wall, doesn't want to get seen by the ward. But this is going to be nothing going on. No, but what I was going to say, though, is the mid lane.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. It's smart to know, to see that these dives aren't happening. Trashy has gone unrevealed. We'll look for Kyle here. Not going to land the knockup. Nice root in the backside, but Kyle losing a lot of health. Yeah, I didn't think that gank could do as much damage as it did. That hurt.
It could have been a lot worse. Kyle went forward instead of backwards. You'd think that he would retreat into it. So not eating that 1 second knockup from Trashy, actually really good for him.
Very smart. Yeah, walk forward, send the E backwards, and walk forward even farther. And make sure that they either track you and deal damage before the teleport, or they track you and deal damage afterwards, but not both. Seraph routinely getting stunned in front of his own turret. It is taking a fair bit of mana out of Otter and Body Drop, but Seraph at 20 minion kills here, doing a pretty darn good job of the 1-on-2.
Yeah, both are actually doing a really good job in the 1-on-2. Both Flares and Seraph. We talk about the top lane matchup over and over again. They're actually only 80 gold apart from each other, 60 gold apart from each other. That 1 CS, despite Seraph getting jungle creeps.
Well, jungle camp's just kind of worth more.
Kez? Nope. Oh!
Oh!
Ah!
What a scumbag. You want to talk about it?
No, I don't want to talk about it, because I've talked about it too much.
I know how that goes. I got yelled at for talking about Phantom Dancing the other day.
Did you?
Someone on Twitter was like, stop talking about Phantom Dancing. I'm like, it's relevant!
I'll talk about it again just because. Nidalee's R is an auto attack reset, so you auto R, auto Q, and that instantly clears the ward.
Only green
Boom,
wards.
it's
Pink
done.
wards will live.
Oh, well, you don't have to instantly clear pink wards all the time.
I'm just saying, bro. Either way, the turret's now starting to get pushed around. Top lane outer is going to fall in. Look at that, right on time. This could even be a freeze for Flares if they wanted to. And in fact, they will. Look at that. Takes the wave for another quarter second. Walks into the brush. Double recall. NME eSports have a pristine wave for Flares.
The thing, though, is Seraph has a lot of clearing potential with the Bomby Cinder and having Burnout, so he can just run up to that wave if he wants and clear it really hard and try to make it bounce against the turret. But he will have to kind of muscle his way through Flares once he arrives.
You can see, though, it's going to be a very different situation for the bot lane. Both lanes actually could be frozen by NME eSports, and with these outer turrets gone on both sides, NME can really dictate what these waves end up doing. It is worth pointing out, though, that this mid lane matchup is heavily going in Kyle's favor and is, I think, the sole reason for this 500 gold lead of TDK.
Yeah, this is where Katarina actually took some nerfs to base stats. And, ooh. Tries to all in him there. No ignites burned from either of them, so some restraint there. They're waiting for that next cooldown rotation. Both ultimates blown, though. Yeah,
next time he gets the EWQ, though, Ignite would kill Kyle here, and NX would survive the matchup, actually. Interestingly, Body Drop going to try to challenge Seraph, who does have Smite, which means if he wants Scuttle, he can get it.
They go back to the lane swap situation. Flares actually goes in. He's 6.
He's 6. It's going to be really scary for Vayne. Flash doesn't get away from it. One more hit. The flash shield from Smoothie. He buys his life back, but in comes Trashy. There's first blood. The ulti comes on in. Kez to rejoin. Misses the javelin. Trashy still wants to battle, but be careful. Nidalee's got plenty of damage. Body Drop coming from the backside. Doesn't hit that javelin either. First blood, and out they go.
That was really aggressive by Flares. Having Trashy, we talked about it. Crumbs talked about it on the desk too. It's whoever gets the attention in the top lane. You need that jungle synergy. So Trashy being there for Flares, able to pick up Louis GG, and Flares knowing to push his level 6 over the Vayne.
Yeah. Ninja Tabby for extra movement speed and damage. Longsword now picked up off of... No, not recall yet. He had a longsword the whole time anyway. Yeah, really nicely done. The flash from Louis GG still got him hit by the stun. Or the fear, I should say.
NME immediately took their bottom lane after getting the turret and moved it into a lane that had another turret for them to knock down for an early gold advantage. So they shoved them mid. Inox gets a free farm lane bottom because you can't overextend for this without the fear of getting ganked.
I like this choice, actually. NME eSports realizing they have to lick their wounds from the mid lane and say, this is not going well for Katarina. Give her the side lane. We very rarely see mid laners swap out to lanes like this. It's normally like, oh, it's a Zed, go split push and create pressure. It's like, no, it's Katarina, go split push and freeze under your like own base. He just needs to lick his wins for a while. But that's going to be a lot of pressure that now TDK can capitalize on.
Yeah, you usually don't see it this early at all.
Nope.
If you see it, it's definitely around those times when you hit an item spike for a split push. But it's just to get Inox past this hump where he's down, doesn't have his Abyssal Scepter just yet, and to give him some free farm in a lane that already had a turret taken.
Yeah, I do want to see what ends up happening with Inox for the next few minutes. He did buy a lot of magic resist for his early build, so if he ends up squaring off with Luigi, no defensive stats to deal with the AD carry. If that matchup ends up happening. TDK, meanwhile, they've actually frozen the top lane for themselves. Vayne going to be getting a fair bit of free farm on the left-hand side of the map. Actually might be slow pushing after all, but either way, you can see the safest of safe lanes given to the big scaling carries on both sides. Katarina on one, Vayne on the other. Kez getting pushed around by Flares. Good dodge.
Yeah, Flares isn't, right now, he's not able to do a whole lot. He doesn't have a lane that's shoved up to him. He's going to have to clear top. So NME are going to start this dragon. But there are two smites on TDK.
Yeah, but the thing is the mistiming by TDK. They had Luigi in the top lane who just now recalled. Even though they should know the dragon timer, to me this is actually a bit of a misstep when you've got a clearly stronger mid laner here. In my mind, TDK would win a team fight, but they give NME eSports the dragon anyway.
It's actually looking at the gold here for the top laner. Seraph is still ahead of Flares, even though Flares got that first blood. He has more gold, he has the Cinder Hulk completed, so the Shyvana gets to split push as much as possible, and once he shoves up waves, he can go get the Gromp in the bottom lane. He can go get the Wolves with those smites. So this is really good, and the top lane Shyvana is pretty much online now with the challenging smite.
Yep, she's going to have all the combat sets she needs for the early to mid game. Kyle going to get beset, but not found. Nice little slow comes in. And as the game seems to play fairly slowly for the mid game, TDK definitely showing a pretty darn good performance here in their early mid game so far. The NME eSports off of that first blood do hold themselves a gold lead. And they're just kind of waiting around right now. Luigi getting free farm on Vayne I feel like is only a good thing here for TDK. Also keep in mind, there's actually a lot of very good ways of dealing with Katarina. We haven't talked about that yet. But in teamfights, Janna can be permanently on press R for cat duty. Lissandra can do it with her ulti. Shyvana in a pinch can with her ult as well, but you don't really want to save him for that.
Yeah.
Luigi also has the threat here. So 4 of the 5 members on this TDK lineup.
I feel like it's just going to be clean up there, and they're going to go for the dive on Seraph.
Wow, why'd he walk back into the turret? He's certainly going to die for this one. Ignite is on, and Otter's going to get one last auto attack to get the kill. Seraph could have chosen to leave, but went back under the turret.
Well, that's what happens when you take a smite. You're not going to get that flash, that extra escape. You're completely reliant on your decision-making and the Dragon's Descent to get out.
Dragon's Descent back on the other way, and that's going to be another turret picked up, and a second kill for NME eSports, so it looks like a good capitalization from the duo lane here, but TDK making a similar play. Looking at the top lane, is a 3-on-2 up here. Trashy will not land the knockup though, but there's going to be plenty of damage still to come through. Ultis for both bruisers.
You're still shoving this bottom wave down. Trying to get it to bounce off the turret.
And it will. It'll clear before Seraph is able to get most of it here, so a bit of time spent. Seraph, interestingly, by the way, actually buying more damage items, going towards what I would guess to be Ruin King here on Shyvana. We usually see her build tank from this point, but
it's Seraph.
It's you're right.
This guy builds IE on Nidalee, so
yep,
he builds what he wants to carry his team. He's really just trying to get himself in a situation where he's not going to be the sole tank. We've seen Seraph in the LCS try to be a sole tank on a team, and it doesn't seem to be his style. He likes damage. He likes to be able to put the team in his backpack and carry them.
Yeah, and even though he is 0-1 and the CS looks kind of low, he's only 100, 200 gold behind Luigi, who's been split pushing on Vayne all game.
And also has a turret above him.
Right, like, yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of extra gold funneled to Luigi, and yet Seraph is still pretty close in gold right here. Is right now Kyle carrying the burden with his 140 CS. But Lissandra, I don't know if he's really known as a late game hyper carry, especially with that Q damage nerf from a few patches ago. However, he will be able to make some plays with all the crowd control. We'll see if Kyle does much other than just lane well.
You can see IE Spike comes in for Otter, immediately go back to mid, start pushing mid. Inox has his Abyssal Scepter, so he's ready to group up, he's ready to start these fights. An enemy, with their team fighting comp, they want to group up, they want to force these objectives. Yeah. Because if you fight them for it, they're most likely going to win at this point in the game.
And it looks like right now, TDK not interested in doing battle with anyone. They had Seraph pushing out the bottom lane, they have Luigi still top lane on this Vayne. And for the rest of time, NME eSports is happily running around the map, taking whatever objectives they want here. And it's a 2,500 gold lead for the red side. Certainly we can see these games, I feel like, have slowed down compared to what we normally saw in Challenger. You get on the big stage, you know what the stakes are, and you start playing a little bit more risk-averse.
More calculated.
Certainly more calculated, but not taking some of the risks that they would otherwise. That said, it's still NME eSports coming out ahead in the early game like they typically do.
Yes, sir. They play a very strong early game and a very strong mid-game around team fights. Their late game also revolves around those team fights and the coordination that they have on this team. But picking a team fight, team comp, it's fairly easy to execute on that. So they're playing around their power spikes really well. As soon as the level 11 start coming in for them, but look at this. The smite's down. The duel is on.
And Seraph has the ulti, but will not chase through into Flares as he could have onslaughted out. Body Drop also playing support here. So Flares, though, he loses the first duel.
Doesn't even fight back. He just runs away.
Is that really even a duel then? Is it a solo?
It's where somebody's bullying you.
Tell the principal. Flares runs home.
It's a pacifist.
Heads top lane.
He just wants to kill minions.
He has a kill in the game. That is not pacifism.
You can rewrite your past?
Flares has turned over a new leaf?
Yeah.
Okay.
He got that kill, and now he's repenting.
Yeah, okay. ETA till Flares gets another kill this game. I'm going to say under 5 minutes. Some repentance. Lent is short on Summoner's Rift.
Body drop. He was standing on a ward there, so they are well aware.
Oh! Yeah, it's through
They're going to have to sacrifice this turret. They have to seed it at this point. There's just too much pressure on it. They're pulling everybody up, though, and this is a long lane.
So Seraph is bot lane.
The threat of this.
So you can see it in TDK's playstyle. TDK, to me, it's one of two things, and I'm pretty sure it's the second one. Either the shot calling is really bad, or they know they're the later game team, and all they want to do is buy time. Look at Seraph CS, 115, about to reach bot lane tier 2. All TDK has done is over and over 1-3-1 or 3-1-1. Put pressure, make enemy come up to the lane, and then back off and be like, we got farm, dog. No big deal.
And NACS gets free farm right here. He gets the ability to clear a couple waves. Yeah. Dragon is up right now, and they are not in position for it, and they don't even have ward control over it. Enemy has this area to themselves with the Scuddler, all the wards around it, and the pink ward in the pit.
Wow, and Flare's managed to push top lane all the way down at the same time. He's still squaring off against a teleportless enemy champion. Looks like there's no steal threat whatsoever. Normally when a Dragon goes down like this, you want to push something else elsewhere on the map. Well, Kyle pushed up mid, but Louis GG couldn't push top meaningfully.
TDK don't really have a way to team fight enemy effectively. It looks like what they're trying to do is just funnel a lot of resources into Louis so that he can be a late game Vayne and kite backwards. Because once you engage, like this is all very kiteable engage.
It is.
Like the Zac, the Hecarim, you can kite this
Annie,
engage.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as you stay near the back, the point and click is only Annie.
Yep.
Once you disengage her with the Janna, you're in a good spot.
Nocturne made a brief appearance on the screen.
Half Nocturne.
He's back. Half Nocturne. Isn't he like half person anyway? He's like missing a lot of his limbs.
Is he even a person?
Or, you know, whatever. I forget, like Nocturne's like a... No, he possessed a summoner, I think.
That's dark.
Yeah. Really? That's so easy.
But it is pretty dark.
I know. But yeah, like, yeah, TDK waiting to scale up. Interestingly, there was no Trinity Force power spike yet for Flares. Like, I don't know Hecarim that well. I know that late game starts to fall off. He's really strong mid game. He's strong in the laning phase. But eventually his damage goes away as you outscale him.
Early on, he's a little more mindless. Once you get into the late game, he is still very strong.
Yeah, he can dive you, but
you have to think about when you jump in, and it's all about the TP placement.
Right, his individual threat is, okay, lad, crowd control. But, you know, a lot of champions can do that. Either way, though, Flares, of course, once he gets Triforce, will be one of the scariest forces on the map. We are going to see Luden's Echo from Inox here. Nocturne not wanting to say die.
I mean, he got buffed last patch. He just wants to play.
Smite by Trash. You're going to get knocked around, though. This is going to be the engage.
A lot of damage. Three-man.
Three-man Chambers in comes Siobhan to the back line, and Seraph tanking up whatever he can. First kill comes in as Inox dies. Body drop follows, a fitting name for him, but in comes Flares. Ulti in. Three-man Fear, but is it going to be enough damage? That answer is absolutely no. And now Otter getting chased around. TDK pick up a whole lot for this one. 2 kills back, but 5 picked up for TDK.
And that's it right there. Enemy has really good power spikes coming out, really good team fight comp, but TDK with the disengage keep them at an arm's length as they play cleanup.
Absolutely great team fight here in the first gold lead of the game. TDK could pick up a little bit more off this one. Mid lane outer turret near dead. Looks like patience paid off here, and Seraph goes Blade of the Ruin King. This guy wants to deal some damage.
And I absolutely love these two champion selects that came out because it's hard engage versus a disengaged kite around comp that once you engage, you have to have a way to continue that engage when Righteous Glories start coming out, if they even do come out this game, because it's really hard to build them. I think Annie will be able to get one, but you don't want to build that item on Zac. You don't build it on Hecarim, right?
It could be
You can, but it's one of those things you have to be able to continue the engage because the Nidalee's going to kite back, the Janna's going to disengage you. So it's disengage versus hard engage, and I always love watching these types of matchups because it all comes down to the execution and placement of the teams. It's not like a team lost in champion select or anything.
Oh, absolutely not. And one thing I think is actually going to be really meaningful here is the stun duration on Annie's passive. Yeah. Because you've got this window while Janna is stunned to do whatever the heck you want, practically, right? Katarina gets a spin, dance around, ulti does a lot of damage. The stun duration does scale up with Annie's levels. Off the top of my head, I think it's around like level 9 or 13 where like she gets an extra quarter second. Those are important levels that will allow body drop to give like an extra quarter second of Inox channel, which is like a couple hundred damage to the whole team. And I think makes a meaningful difference in the fight. Now in this battle, Inox got killed right away, barely got to do anything at all. Even with Abyssal first.
And once he gets his Luden's Echo, his upfront burst is going to be very meaningful. He jumped in and didn't play cleanup, he jumped in as initiation in that fight.
He thought the stun was long enough to get the damage and got counter engaged on.
Flares was not there just yet.
Yeah,
so
also true.
Inox could have held off a little longer and waited for Flares and then jumped in for cleanup when Flares got his ultimate off. Look at this. They're immediately collapsing on Louis. Four-man squad.
He's got ulti. Still the stun lands. Now he's been re-revealed. No chance he lives. Well, maybe. Holy crap! Ignite did enough, but that was a bit scary. Inox gets the kill after all.
Gotta respect that Vayne. Louis is no pushover. He's 2-2-2 right now. He was 2-1-2, but he has a lot of farm. He's on a good curve right now on this Vayne. 2 items.
Yeah. It's actually a good time to be Vayne right now. Your item spikes have come in pretty nicely.
He's also going to be able to buy QSS too. That goes right to Vayne's build. Is third item QSS, you don't miss out on a whole lot.
And also he's facing mostly magic damage anyway. You will get hit by Hecarim a little bit, but largely it's the Annie and the Katarina and the Zac trying to really pin you down. So a lot of good build synergy here for him as well. And TDK looking pretty strong in the mid game, even despite that 1 kill picked up at NME eSports. TDK still sits 1,000 gold ahead in this game, and I think they will still keep scaling as game goes on.
Luden's Echo completed for Inox, so he has that burst for himself coming in, that spike. But speaking of spikes, Kyle, he has the Zhonya's completed. He's 40 CS up over Inox in the mid lane. Somebody who's been consistently dominant throughout the season. Inox has not given up a lot of lanes at all. He's usually the snowball of this team.
Didn't Inox have an average of 1 death per game until like very recently he finally had a 2-death game again and it pushed him over the average, but Inox right now. Yeah, stun on the Kez, but there's no damage here really. Janna's got enough ability power to keep him safe. Looks like it will be, by the way, Aegis for Janna.
But it's time to get Scuttlers the whole thing. They're trying to force him out so they can get this and get towards those dragons.
Well, that's good for NME eSports then. You mentioned Righteous Glory coming up. Looks like neither team putting together components for that at this time. But something that I will keep an eye on at least a little bit. Looks like Locket actually going to be the item of choice for both supports later on in this game. But 23 minutes in, a 1,000 gold lead for TDK, and NME eSports wants Dragon number 3 right here. They've got to dodge Javelins, and they have to know Seraph can ult in after teleport at any time.
Yeah, the third Dragon's going to give them a huge boost here, because you want to have that movement speed for the continued engage. Here comes the TP from Seraph, though, to be present.
Trash is down to half health, though. I don't know if there's a fight NME eSports really wants to take. They've got less gold advantage than they did last time they took a fight. The last one went pretty poorly. Otter going to get some farm here. He's got a while to go till Phantom Dancer. Actually, he can afford it if he backs right now, which is something that
you don't want to be able. You don't want to do that, and they're not going to allow you to do that on TDK's side.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this. TDK, they get control just enough to get vision. They saw bot lane cleared out, and these guys
they have a Vayne. This will go down fast.
They got 2 smites too. Like, good luck even contesting this at all. Mid lane getting pushed up at NME eSports, but they're still choosing to wait around and maybe defend this dragon, but it will not die. The flash engage comes in. They want it, and there's the hard engage. They pick up Pez. The battle begins. Trashy takes the stun, so that means Inox does whatever the heck he wants, and Seraph will be that 5th and final kill. That was a clean ace for NME eSports.
The 5-man ace. They might go straight for Baron here from NME.
Well, we might not have more smites than you, but we got more champions in the field right now. There is no way you can stop this Baron. And when you stun the tank, Katarina does whatever she wants, and that was quite the team fight for NME eSports.
You stun a lot of the disengage. The Luden's Echo, immediately you could see the effects of that. NOX got to jump around that fight, and that was the team fight NME was looking for.
That was Earth mode Katarina right there. Just smart cast your entire keyboard, resets for days, and there we go. NME eSports up 3K with a Baron buff.
This is the Katarina dream. Body drop jumps in. Kez and Kyle. Smoothie is not in a position
to
disengage it immediately, so he flashes in, but you can see the damage from Inox just melted them so quickly because the front burst of the Luden's Echo. That's one of the reasons Katarina is so good.
You know, I just realized why Sivir made so much sense here. Not only is it a teamfight team, they are all AoE champions.
Yeah.
Every single one has meaningful area of effect damage. And when your team has got a Nidalee, a no defensive item, okay, Zhonya's, but like low defensive item, Lissandra, a Vayne and a Janna, all squishy champions, guess what? One of them's going to pop to the AoE. There's the resets, there's the team fight.
And the Sivir does a really good job of covering the no righteous glory.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to continue these fights and continue the engagements. Well, okay.
Nice misclick, bro.
You hit E and W at the same time, and sometimes you don't get the E.
Whatever.
It's fine. Yeah. Doesn't matter in team fights.
That was a pun, by the way.
What?
WE, whatever.
Oh, God.
Well, Flare is one level up on Sarah, pushing him around the map, and of course, Baron buff minions help a little bit.
You see, he immediately tries to force him out, get as much damage as possible. Seraph will heal a bit of this up with his Blade of the Ruined King, but there's so much pressure across the map now. Kyle's mid right now. They don't have the defense for this.
No, not at all. Luigi G forced to get away from this one. Four-man push. Yeah. Yeah, well, guess what? Buffed up melee minions don't die to wave clear very easily. They only die to turrets, so good luck with that one. They will knock out the rest of this wave, but mid lane could easily be pushed in as the top laners just do battle off the other side of the map. But tier 2 turrets should pretty much always fall under a Baron buff. And with 1 minute left, NME eSports should be able to claim at least mid lane, and if they rotate, top lane.
This is the pressure that Flares likes to exert. You can see the Ignite's down.
Wow. Oh, the Ruined King heal! Holy. All right, Seraph's getting a shield right now from that turret.
Oh, Smoothie's here.
Oh, wow, they're going to kill Flares.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, easy. I knew it would happen that way.
Immediate pop of the ultimate from Otter there to try and get something and force them off this turret. They get a turret for the death of Flares.
Careful though, it's 4v5. Kyle has no ult, but he could always W, but nothing to be done. All right, so TDK, they get a turret, they lose a they get a kill, they lose a turret, they're probably going to lose anyway.
Yeah, TDK don't have a lot of ways to start fights though, is the thing. Is they're waiting for NME to start the fights for them. It's Seraph jumping in and Lissandra only really locks one person up or herself and creates a slow zone. There's no real way to just force a fight like Annie does.
Not against the Sivir team, no way. A lot of escapes here for NME eSports, and they're still dictating the pace after that mid-game lead, and of course with Baron buff it helps as well. Bot lane and Hip turret getting dangerously low, down to below half health. And Otto decides to go back into this one, very low, gets jumped off. Oh, wow, yeah. A lot of burst comes through. Will this be the engage they want? In comes the TP from Hecarim. Here he is, the knockaround from Trash, but this team just wants to run away. Sivir ulti, though, still down.
They have no ways to really chase this that hard. It's going to be Kez throwing spears.
That's going to get him in a body drop. Of course, stuns available.
It's the lack of hard engage from TDK. They can't capitalize off mistakes like that. If you had a hard engage member on your team, Kyle wasn't in a place to even go forward and capitalize off of the overextension of Otter.
Sadly, he couldn't run fast enough. Smoothie, even though he gives his teammates some move speed, couldn't lead the charge quite. And TDK will not get anything special off this. NME eSports now sitting up 4,000 gold.
Flares.
Yeah, he has to know there's people around here. Close in the Javelin, Kez won't get much. Okay. 4-kill lead, a lot of map pressure here for NME eSports. The next dragon to go down is the movement speed one, which is actually quite nice at this stage of the game where rotations start meaning everything. And getting back and forth between these turrets, definitely a big deal for NME eSports. You expect them to have control here. Baron's not on the field, Scuttler is just down because you can. I mean, it has almost no impact on the game right now.
They're just trying to get rid of it so that that circle actually has meaning to it. Because there's already the Scuttler on the ground. It's just going to go back.
Double circle, what does it mean? Oh, it's pretty.
Is it both? Look, I think it's both colors at the same time.
It's red and blue. It's like, it's so Entrancing.
My OCD has been satisfied for the day.
Flair's ironically not the one with fire powers in this one. Going to walk away from Seraph.
They're immediately going to start pushing top here with that minion wave. After getting the Scuddler, this, this minion wave just grouped up.
Ooh. Maybe not, just kidding. I thought the whole team was there. They weren't.
Nope.
They're missing a Zac.
Yeah, they're missing a lot of their threat of an engage.
Yeah, true.
Because Body Drop doesn't have his flash just yet, so the flash Tiver's not an option.
True.
Yeah, they kind of just shoved minion waves out and allowed them to farm there instead of really applying pressure to an objective. So NME giving away some free waves. Now, though, they could wrap around Seraph.
Oh, wow. Whoa. Wow, wow. 3 for nothing.
That's so explosive.
All right. Well, that was a team fight. NME's eSports won it. They can push mid off this one. They got a minion wave there already. Flair's just to lock Seraph down. Keep it from going anywhere. Ruin King used to run away, but mid lane inhibitor is certain to die off this one. A 4 versus 1. The Janna not going to stop this anyway.
Yeah, and when I was looking at Champion Select 2, TDK, their first few lock-ins, Lissandra, Janna, Nidalee, that team is extremely squishy. You round that out with an AD carry, you get yourself a tank, but that's a lineup that just explodes so quickly when you get the right engage. We're going to see it right here. Trashy jumps in, and he gets 2 people right on top of Inox with the flash to E in. That's a 1-second knock-up on Zac, followed by his Let's Bounce, and Inox immediately capitalizes on that. They are on the same page for that engage.
Really, really nice team fight start. It's going to start looking worse and worse for TDK, though they have a locket and inventory for Smoothie. He wasn't around to help his team survive this. And the magic resist options of TDK are quite limited here. They didn't know if Inox was going to be a big threat. He lost the laning phase, but NME gave Inox that side lane farm. He caught up in gold at least enough to be useful.
Averages 1 death a game.
Still there.
Still there.
He's at like 1.08, unfortunately.
Yeah. He's not at 2.
I mean, if you round, it's at 1, but just to be pedantic.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I don't think,
he had 3 deaths in 2 games in the semifinals, I think.
Yeah. He's, there's only 2 games that I see that he actually has 3 deaths on them.
Okay.
Yeah, his casting game was 1 death. His Kog'Maw game was 2. So there's only 2 games out of his 12 games that he's actually had 3 deaths.
Yeah, more than 2. Okay, ward control here for NME eSports. Dragon 3 was taken cleanly. Baron is back on the map. If these guys wanted to push any farther, of course, mid inhib being down and limited wave clear could make life very difficult for TDK.
Yeah, you basically strangle them from vision. You clear all their wards, you go to the Baron, you let your mid wave do some work, and you force them to check you. They either give up Baron or they jump into your hard engaged team.
Yeah.
So I doubt that NME's actually going to start this. They're going to clear the vision, wait for TDK, and then engage on them, and you're seeing them trying to force something right here.
And they're trying to force, they don't get much for it. They do get mid back cleared. They have ward control over Baron, though. Now, they can't Sivir ult to re-engage, but they can just simply walk at Baron and start it up. Mid lane will have to be cleared. And that is a ward right there under their feet. They couldn't quite clear. Still got a hit left on it. Enemy eSports should know about that. There's no way that Death Rush works. Like, they got seen going over there. How do they not know that ward's not dead? They got seen going in there. You hit the ward. And they gave up and hit some minions.
That's kind of like, was there a ward in that bush? No, man, I cleared it. I cleared that.
No one got the gold for it.
What are you talking about?
Or like he had swept into the ones we saw the 15 gold pop up. It was like, oh yeah, the ward died.
No, I cleared that ward.
Yeah, nope.
That's what's going to happen when they watch this replay. No, I cleared that ward.
All right, Flares though setting up the table. Top lane, TDK going to be a bit late to the party. How many home guards do they have? 1. And it's Smoothie. He'll steal the turret, but it's still going to go down.
Oh, no.
TP is useless entirely. Has to recall. That is a lot of time wasted. This is going to be an inhibitor taken down. Enemy can walk away. No Sivir ult just yet, but they don't need it.
Seraph actually cancels that and runs mid to clear this wave.
I like that.
There's nothing he could do. If he goes back, he's just
get killed.
Yeah, exactly. Clearing this super minion out is very important, but he gets his own ward down. He clears the pink ward. Now the sweepers are very important where they can place them down. They get that pink ward down to reestablish control of the Baron pit, but it's once again back to the Baron dance. Now, I don't think they're actually going to force Baron anymore. I think now they go bottom, and they just try to get that third inhib off of pressure. You don't really need the Baron right now for NME.
I guess it just depends what they choose to risk. Because right now that option is still Baron. For now, they have Flares splitting bottom.
They're going to do it with a split push because Seraph doesn't have TP.
All right,
that's the other option.
No, you're right. There is no teleport around whatsoever. Baron down to 8,000 health, and Flares saying, "Hi, Seraph, what's going on? Let's be friends. Hang out with us. 4v4, right? No big deal." And Baron's going to go down. TDK have to just contest their own minion waves. And that will be a Baron going to NME eSports here in Game 1. In this best-of-5, winner goes and joins the North American LCS. NME eSports are certainly farther along on the road right here in Game 1.
It's actually a really good call. I didn't think about that. I was like, oh yeah, Seraph used his TP. It got canceled, but he still used it. So the fact that they went for the Baron there instead of pushing it out was really good. Now they're just going to rotate down to that bottom wave.
Yeah.
Get that Baron buffed up. Flares sitting in the base with Home Guard. He's ready for this fight.
Yeah. Now, mid lane is respawning here. So these guys might push in bot, then switch back to re-kill the inhibitor. But either way, top lane, gigantic wave right now going into TDK's base. This turret's low. They have to respect the Lissandra ult engage somewhat here, but Otter's going to get a couple of hits in. And life is still good. Flair's still waiting inside the base for his teleport opportunity. 1 or 2 more hits to go. There's the engage, the backline dive. Wow!
Here comes
One
Flares.
kill already. Inox will trade his life, but there's so much backline damage, it's not going to be nearly enough. Inox actually lived. I take it back, and into the next as they go. That's going to be the game. Explosive end to it all. NME eSports have taken the first game in the road to the LCS.
35 minutes in. Immaculate team fights there from NME, showing off their strength, that they've been together for a while, and they're ready to just come into the LCS as a team off of team fights.
That was great to watch. The early game took some time. They played the laning phases. They tried to figure out who wanted to go where, what was the right thing to do. Small gold lead here, and then one bad team fight. Oh my god, is this the right thing? Is this comp going to work at all? And with no hesitation, they tried again next time. That one worked great. Next time, that one worked well.
It was a slight misjudge of Power Spike because they wanted the Luden's Echo before they got that big team fight with the upfront Katarina burst. The fight they took previously, it wasn't completed just yet.
Yeah. Aether Wisp and an Abyssal Scepter, and Inox died at the very start of that battle, so something that NME eSports might need to keep in mind next time around, but honestly, this team...
Sorry, Nocturne again, guys.
Yeah, it's okay. We're good. We're good. We're all happy. The timer has ended. Either way, though, NME eSports, they continue their very long streak of wins. They are now 12-1 in the North American Challenger Series. They are 2 games away, and odds are they'd win those based on their win rate here. So,
well, Trashy said, you win game 1, you get a lead in game 2. He thinks it's over at that point.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
We will have to see. So, team fight comp, game 1, NME eSports. Very obvious, the goals there, and the goals were good, and you know what, it worked out. A lot of hard engage, a lot of follow-up damage. I like the comp here. Now, you got to think about what's next for game 2. We talk about best of 5s a lot, and game 1 is a trial period. You say, okay, what have they brought to the table? Who's playing well on land today? That's actually an important one so far. Seems like strong performances kind of across the board for, I would say, both sides, actually.
You know what I think is really interesting is body drop. This guy, out of everybody in NME, because you have a top laner Flares. He played in LCS this year as a sub.
True.
You have Trashy, who has LAN experience in London at the Road Show. He's been to the expansion or the promotion tournament.
Yeah.
You have Inox, who played in the LCS, and you have Otter, who's been on multiple lands. Body Drop has been in a couple, but he showed up here with hard engages, no hesitation on.
Yes, that's true.
Big,
you're absolutely
big
right.
thing there for them.
We talked about the early game being a little bit passive because the teams would be afraid to make mistakes, but when it came down to making make or break calls in team fights, tenacity from NME eSports, generally very good calls and very strong team fighting. So congrats to them.